We live in a time where everything is very fast-paced, which instant gratification is constantly sought out. The emergence of online dating and dating apps have become a means of conveniently finding love during a time which our time is deemed more sacred than sometimes the relationships we build. Are we as people capable of nurturing and creating meaningful relationships in such a competitive society that is technologically dominated? What healthy boundaries do we need to set for ourselves in order to allow love to flourish into our lives? Today, we're going to tackle those questions, and I've brought along with me guest dating coach Evan Marc Katz from Los Angeles, and we'll also be graced with the presence of the original music of Buffalo, New York's Porcelain Train. This is episode 19 of Afternoon Cocktail. My name's Amanda Ashley, and today our theme is healthy boundaries. Welcome. Introducing to you Buffalo, New York's Ralph and Tamala Fonda of Porcelain Train. Hi guys, how are you?
Hey.
Great.
Very good.
Thanks for having us.
Oh my goodness, thanks for being here with us. What song are you going to perform for us first?
The first song we're going to do is a song from our single. It's called Same Ride.
Awesome, take it away.
Okay.
Stars are always shining in the sky, even when you just can't see. And there's still a path awaiting. It's ageless like the ground holds my feet, holds my feet. Sell you, said you're not in the game. Get it out of your mind. Get it out of your mind. And I love to listen to you talk about your dreams so high. I can see the passion in your walk. I think we're going on the same ride. Oh, oh. Oh, right now it's a little mess. So you'll find in time it'll make you whole. And right now it's a brand new wake up, and you hear your name. It's time to let go. It's time to let go. And I love to listen to you talk about your dreams so high. I can see the passion in your walk. I think we're going on the same ride. Oh. flashing in your walk. I think we're going on the same ride. Yeah. I think we're going on the same ride. I think we're going on the same ride. Oh, oh.
Excellent. Welcome, Porcelain Train. Ralph and Tamala, thank you so much for sharing your music with us today. Could you tell us a little bit about your backstory? I mean, how you both met and how musically you came about as a husband and wife duo?
Well, I'm originally from Michigan. He's from New York here. And we both, we went to college in Oklahoma. And we met in Oklahoma. And we were doing the same things. Like, he was involved in music, I was involved in music. We went to a small campus. There was a small campus, so we'd see each other in the cafeteria, and he'd crack jokes. And
We would
what a
admire
funny
each other
guy."
from afar.
We actually met face to face. It was
We had
very
a
interesting.
mutual friend that sort of saw the two
Yeah.
pointing at each other.
Yeah,
Well,
little
how about her? How about
matchmaking.
him? How about her? Well, why don't you go pick her up and do something sometime?
Yeah.
So,
And I said, "Oh, yeah, he's cute." I just want to
I
let
love
you know, at the time, he had an afro.
Oh, okay. I mean, how long have you guys been married?
A long time.
decades.
Long time.
Actually, 32 years.
Yeah.
So music is really the foundation of your relationship. So you guys have been doing this since the get-go, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And a lot of different formats. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, where did the name Porcelain Train come from?
Well, that's sort of a bit of a journey. We're trying to put together something that sort of represented sort of the Americana kind of feel,
So that's-
and that was sort of rugged yet beautiful. And the train part was sort of the the American muscle kind of thing, and
And it actually means, I mean, songwriting-wise, it
Yeah.
actually means
she'll give you the artistic version.
beautiful, but it's a fragile journey of life, and that's kind of what those words for us mean. Porcelain is a material you can use in different ways, very strong, it's fragile still, and train is the journey, So life, our songs, everybody's songs, is about life and their journey and, their feelings, and so.
Sure. Now, how much of the writing do you both actually do together? Like, Tamala, do one of you actually just compose and introduce it to the other, or Tamala, do you typically just write the lyrics and Ralph comes up with other parts of the song, the rhythm?
Yeah.
Well, she's basically what I would say is like the architect, and I'm sort of like
Here we
the
go.
finished carpenter.
Now
That's a good way to explain it.
She really, I sort of let her run with a
He
lot
lets
of,
me.
a lot
Okay,
of
did you hear that?
creativity.
He lets me.
Well, if I get in the way, I get in trouble. But she will go off on these.
Healthy boundaries, Ralph, right?
Exactly. She's
Well-
inspired by a lot of things, and
Yeah.
so when she comes up with these ideas, or I'll be playing the drums, and she'll come by with her phone. Play that beat again, and she'll
Yeah.
just record the beat that I'm playing, and then she builds something on it.
Yeah,
and,
so lyrically
there's
and,
just a
and
lot of different-
compositionally, I do that. He gets the rhythm together and he puts some harmony and it comes together,
And occasionally, I will be asked for a key word or phrase.
Ah, see, look at you guys.
And let me tell
I
you
love
what,
it.
I've come through.
He does have a couple songs, but I haven't had the guts to sing them with him yet.
Now, is your writing purely inspirationally based, or I mean, do you actually schedule time aside to write your music? And I found that getting in a groove for me, every day, just writing a little bit of something down, and doesn't have to make the most sense, doesn't have to be a full composition, but just being in a routine of writing is what helped me to write the most. Do you feel that way, or is it just purely inspirational?
No, I agree with you, because if you don't have the discipline of writing, even when you don't want to, I mean, down the road, you might like, oh, something was there, even though I didn't know it. And you can capture something from that day, or from the way you were feeling, or from the way you were thinking that day. I think the discipline of writing anything, what your thoughts or whatever it is really important, because nothing's wasteful to me, you know. Another thing that helps me, I love the sun, and I love to sit there by the trees and hear in the morning, just to write for me with the sun is very inspirational. I mean, that is inspiring to me, along with the discipline of writing every day. And sometimes just a situation will happen too, and it's just automatic. It just happens. It comes out of you, you know. Like that, we had a new song just the other day, and it just, you know, some things flow out of you. But I think all three you have to have if you want to be a serious writer, to capture everything, because you don't know what you waste, you know.
Inspiration
You might,
and discipline.
Sure.
yeah.
Absolutely, I agree with that 100%. I mean, so how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance? I mean, you two are husband and wife. I mean, you're around each other a lot. You're working together. I mean, how do you keep your relationship healthy and strong, and you guys not at each other's necks?
Well,
Who says we're not?
well, you want to get it?
I don't know. It's just been a long time, and just we're
No, we're used to each other, and we,
coexist for many years.
yeah. And we communicate. I think communication is a big deal. Like, for me, if when we're together, if we communicate better, it's easier for me. Just your likes and dislikes. If you know it's somebody that well, you sort of get used to, like, oh, don't step there. And you sort of just give each other that grace, you know, and honesty and communication.
Well, you're giving each other those healthy boundaries, you know. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. You know, not to be cheesy with our topic and theme here, but, you know, especially during a time like this where, you know, we're quarantined, we're all here together, you know, and you see, I mean, if you look on social media, you know, like there's some people that are just bashing their spouses, and it's like, well, you know, I was talking about this with my neighbor yesterday. She's like, you know, like, I just don't get it. Like, you take these vows, and, you know, like, through the good and the bad, you know, the thick and the thin, you know, these are the times where we're supposed to be bonded together. And it's difficult, you know, like Bo and I work together. We're working on this together right now, you know, and I think when you respect each other's healthy boundaries, and you find, you know, what works and what works well for the both of you together, and also where that line of separation needs to come into play, that's probably what's working for you guys, I imagine.
Yeah.
Is there anything outside of music that really bonds you as well? Like, I mean, I know you spoke about nature. Is that something that you share together?
Actually, yeah, we both like the outdoors.
Yeah,
we
love.
like traveling.
Ralph is quite a butterfly nurturer, I would say. For real, yeah. And I have a song about it.
It's sort of a hobby I had when I was a kid. You know, I would find monarchs, you know, would be the thing. And she ended up writing a song about. But yeah, I do some stuff
But
outside.
so those things I appreciate about them, you know. And but some boundaries. We were talking about boundaries here, okay? Like when growing up, his mother allowed him to have butterfly cocoons, or
It's
chrysalis,
actually called a chrysalis.
in the house. And then he would nurture them until they flew away.
You've been very
And I have been accommodating,
very
okay?
accommodating, yeah.
So those are things I can handle, but there
Every
is
summer
a
we have
point.
monarchs in our house. So
There's a point where, as you can see, our drum
and I like
business has
drums.
grown.
She's very accommodating. Is that?
I'm accommodating to a point.
You guys have quite the amount of gear back there. It looks like a music store. It's amazing.
Yeah, I feel that.
But I mean, you get good use out of all that. It seems like, I mean, you come from a musical family. I mean, you guys were telling me off air that I mean, your offspring, you have 3 sons and a daughter, correct?
4 sons and a daughter.
Yeah,
4 sons, my goodness. So big family, and they're all creative,
yeah,
it sounds like.
yeah.
All creative and very intelligent, and I mean, they got good genes, obviously. But yeah, great. And I mean, so, and going back to those healthy boundaries, professionally, is there anything, like that stands out to you that, you have to kind of stand your grounds with musically, with maybe booking, or, I mean, you guys are kind of self-managing, travel wise. Is there anything where you're like, you know what, at this point in my life, this is where I got to draw the line, and this is what gigs I'm going to take, or how I'm going to handle my business? Is there anything like that for you?
Yeah, no, we definitely have gotten to the point where we're trying to work things out that work for us. We like a lot of different types of music gigs and different things, but we have our roles. She's the creator and the creative flow, and I do actually handle all the business end and the booking and all that stuff. So yeah, we definitely have our roles that.
Yeah, and we wouldn't go too far where it wouldn't be worth it, you gotta sort of be logical about that, and have a balance of life. I mean, I have children, I have a job that keeps me afloat, and I have this job that keeps me afloat normally. But the love of music, some depends on, when, no, we couldn't do that, it doesn't make sense, or we'll do it because you believe in it, so, I don't know, we do have our boundaries as far as like, where we'll go and stuff like that. I guess that's just logistics, though.
Great. And you had talked about, you just recently released a single. Where can our audience be directed to your music outside of today's performance?
Sure. We have a new single. It was a song we just did, Same Ride. It's a little more robust version with some collaboration with some friends. And
Good job.
but it's
Very good job.
really came out nice. It's available on all the on Spotify, iTunes, all the local streaming formats that anyone wants to do.
Yeah.
It's also, you can get links to that on our Facebook page, Porcelain Train, and go to our Facebook page. I think I put something out recently in our story and different things, and on Ralph and Tamala Fonda, if you want to check that out too. And so we're a full album is going to be coming out, named Same Ride soon, and it's going to have a bunch of songs. But we put the single out.
Yeah. So hopefully you
It's
can
an
get
interesting
that,
song. It's
enjoy
a song
it.
about our journey.
Yep.
Well, fantastic, you two. I wish you the best of luck. I'm grateful to know you, and you guys
Yeah.
should come back out to Rochester soon when things subside, and if I could help you down the line with some gigs out here, maybe we could play some shows together.
You've been a
It'd be
big
fun.
help for us. You've been
Yeah,
a big
you
help for us.
have.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate both of you. So before, we're going to get back to Porcelain Train towards the end of the program. We're going to bring them back for one more original song. But in the meantime, I just wanted to kind of throw out a shout out to our sponsors, Electronic Merchant Systems of New York. They are willing to handle, if you need help with or assistance with accepting credit cards for your business, have any questions pertaining to the credit card industry, Electronic Merchant Systems, the Charge Card guys are the guys to look to. Also, big shout out to Untamed Events, Party Planning. If you have any upcoming events, RebeccaDodge.com is where you could contact Rebecca. And Jewish Senior Life, hello to all my residents tuning in today. I hope you are enjoying today's program, and thank you for your support. I am delighted to bring in Mr. Evan Marc Katz. He's hailing from Los Angeles, and he's so grateful for him to give us his time today. Evan, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Hey, oh my goodness, thank you for accepting the invitation. It's lovely. Evan, you're incredible. So I'm not somebody that's actually dated a whole lot, but I was just really intrigued by the topic of dating during COVID-19. You know, I have some really incredible single girlfriends, you know, that are just always, you know, they have everything but the guy kind of deal. And I was thinking about, you know, I got together with one of my friends last week, and she was, you know, through Zoom, and we're talking, and she was just saying like how she's been doing some Zoom dating. And I'm like, well, this is interesting, you know, what an interesting topic. And then I found you. I started, you know, researching the topic, and I came across you. I mean, you have built a career helping strong, successful women find love. I mean, do you find that women often prioritize their career over love, or that maybe their lack of success in finding a mate derives from the fear of their time being wasted?
It's a really interesting question, and they're actually two different questions.
Yeah.
Because you never want to sound like you're blaming the person for doing what they're doing. When someone is passionate about their career and they go all in on that, it's going to take up a lot of time, energy, and space, undoubtedly. And sometimes if you have more success in one realm, that's where you tend to put your focus. So it becomes really easy to work 50, 55 hours a week and say, oh, I'll find love. Love happens when you least expect it. I'll worry about that when I'm in my 30s. And the next thing you know, it creeps up, and my clients tend to be 35 plus who want to fall in love, get married, have kids, and are realizing that they did not prepare themselves for where they are right now. So, you know, I don't spend too much time on blame. I try to meet people where they're at. And in general, the very thing that may make you successful at one thing doesn't guarantee success in another realm. And that's also a tough pill to swallow sometimes. So.
Sure. And, you know, like watching your videos and doing some research about you, I mean, so Evan, for those watching right now that aren't familiar with Evan's work, you're a dating coach, but you're also an author. And your journey kind of begun with online dating yourself, which was interesting, right? And your success kind of came while you were still single and while you were still finding your mate. I mean, you're happily married now. You have children. Can you tell us a little bit more about your backstory?
I don't know how terribly interesting I am to your audience, but the shortest version of it is that I came to Hollywood to be a screenwriter, and after 10 years of plugging away and making a total of $7,000, I decided to go back to grad school and teach screenwriting. So I was at UCLA Film School. To pay the bills, I got a job answering phones at an online dating company. It was known as MatchNet. They owned American Singles and JDate, the Jewish dating site. And I was customer service, getting yelled at by strangers on the phone, a really fun job. And after 9 months of it, I was like, oh my God, I got to write a book about this. And I was using the product. I was an early adopter of online dating, going out prolifically, and no one had really claimed that space yet. It was still embarrassing for people to admit that they were dating online. And this is 2001. And so I wrote a book called I Can't Believe I'm Buying This Book, A Common Sense Guide to Successful Internet Dating. And I got lucky. Unlike my whole Hollywood career, I got really lucky. And the book got well reviewed in Time, and that got picked up by USA Today, and that got picked up by CNN. And suddenly I dropped out of film school and I became the dating guy. And that was 17 years ago. And I've just been immersing myself and making it up ever since. And it evolved from online dating profile advice, my company eCyrano, to what I do now, which is helping, as you said, women who have everything but the guy get the guy.
Yeah. So interesting. And, you know, I mean, I watched your TED Talk, and I I love what you said about, you know, you're like, I don't mean to bash, you know, my own gender, but, you know, guys just kind of approach things really the wrong way. And I found that, you know, like I'm not single, but, you know, I get these inbox messages through social media, you know, often still, I mean, not as often as I used to when I was younger and, you know, younger and prettier. But, you know, like I'll get these messages like, hey, or how you doing, or you're hot, or this or that, you know, and it's like, every time I get one of those, it's like, do these guys really think this works? You know, like, why would I want to respond to that? I mean, why do you think guys do this?
It's not why I think they do that. I can explain exactly why they do it. And listen, this is why I somehow have a job after all of these years, because for all we talk about, men and women are 90% the same. It's the 10% in which we differ that we're talking past each other and we make the other wrong, right? It becomes almost political. Right? Why would a guy do X? I would never do X. Well, if you put yourself in his shoes, right? Which again is not a justification of why, hey, you're hot is an effective come online. It's not. It's put yourself in a guy's shoes. Men have to be the aggressor. So you saw this in the TED Talk. If a guy has to reach out to 100 women to get 10 replies, because that's his success rate, how much time and energy should he put into each of those 100 unique emails? He's tried writing the long, thoughtful email, and someone was like, all right, stalker, don't write so much. Right? And then he writes the form letter, right? And you're like, oh, it's a form letter. So then he writes, hey, what's up? Just volume approach. So there's a practical side. Now, it's not good. It's not working. But if you're a guy who's been rejected 100 times, you're not going to spend too much time individually crafting personal responses either.
Sure, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Right. So I feel for these guys, but until they get their heads out of their butts, they're going to keep on having a very low percentage success rate, unfortunately.
What do you find is the most common mistake among successful women with dating? I mean, do you come across like the same thing over? I'm sure you do, the same thing over and over again. Like, all right, this is why this isn't working for you. What is that?
It's a lot of things. I mean, my signature course is called Love You. It's a 6-month massive online course that walks women through the process. First month is on confidence, then meeting men, dating, understanding men, relationships, commitment. It's about a half-hour video a week. So it's a lot. So to say, here's the one thing that everybody's doing wrong becomes a little bit trickier. I think that in general, the 95th percentile woman thinks she deserves or wants or is attracted to the male version of herself, but without her flaws and better. And the problem is what that does from a math perspective. It leaves very few people to date. If you are a 6-figure earner and you've got a master's degree and you're in amazing shape and you save kittens on the weekends and you teach piano on the side, if you're that superstar kind of woman, right, you're looking for the equal and opposite. And it's actually not how men date in general. And so we again find ourselves similar, but at cross purposes. What do guys do when it comes to dating? Is she pretty? And is she nice to me? Is she going to accept me as I am? How do I feel around her? Right? There's not a guy who says, I need to date someone taller, smarter, richer, funnier.
Yeah.
So women have raised the bar so high for what they want, what they're attracted to, what they deserve. They've discovered they've eliminated right off the bat 95% of the dating pool, right? Because she's 95th percent. And then in the 5%, half those men don't want her in return. And the men who do, here's the kicker, are just like her. Busy, opinionated, difficult, ambitious. And so there's going to be a lot of friction. So even the act of getting the guy that you think you want doesn't lead you to happiness, because people are really about complements, not clones. Right? You don't need to be with the exact version of yourself. You need to be with someone who's a better fit for you, who's watching the Porcelain Train couple. They're wonderful complements. Mm-hmm. Right? They're not the same person. But it's hard because we're attracted to what we're attracted to. And so then we become convinced that similarity is compatibility, attraction is compatibility, and it's not. Everybody's gone out with someone that they're attracted to who turned out to be terrible.
Yeah.
So people tend to make those same mistakes, thinking and essentially touching the same hot stove over and over again, and are perpetually surprised that they keep getting burned. And so it's my job over 6 months to try to convey this in a gentle way that doesn't sound like you have to settle, because you don't. You have to choose to trade off on certain qualities and make sure that you're getting kindness, consistency, communication, commitment, character, the things that you can't see in a Tinder profile, because that's what's going to determine whether you're happy for 40 years, not just for a couple of weeks. And that's hard, right? We have to use our head and our heart.
Can you elaborate more on like the illusion of choice? Like, And what I mean by that is, nowadays with Tinder, like you said, like in the past, there was eHarmony, like where online dating all began. There was like a little bit of a level of shame, that people were afraid to be like, oh yeah, I met this guy online, But now everybody's kind of meeting each other on these dating apps, like you hear about Tinder a lot, and I don't know what other apps there. I mean, there's a ton of different apps now where everything's just at the swipe of your finger, where like it's that instant gratification, where, all right, well, this guy's hot, this guy's, he seems like he's got his stuff together. If it doesn't work out, whatever, I'll just swipe to the next person. Do you feel like online dating has actually, or like dating apps has actually hurt people in a sense, relationship wise, because they feel like they have all these choices all of a sudden?
Absolutely. I mean, and I think that's well stated, so I'm not going to reiterate your points. Think of it like anything else. Technology comes in to try to solve a problem, and it creates another problem. So technology allows us to do this, right?
Yeah.
I got my little mic here. You're streaming from there. It's really amazing what we can do. Right? Facebook, Twitter, etc. It all allows us to be connected. But what's the downside of that? Well, we're seeing the evidence of the downside of that right now. Right? We're polarized. We're angry at each other. There's misinformation out there. That's the unintended downside of connecting everybody. So what's the unintended downside of taking online dating, just a conventionalmatch.com, and dumbing it down? Well, we've removed profiles, the written portion, which gives you information about someone, gives it some depth. We've removed emails, which at least you take the time to write something substantive. And we've taken that, we said, okay, now we just have pictures. Right?
Yeah.
And so then we said, well, why is it so shallow? Why are guys only text? Well, you're starting with texting, right? So it's not people. People are just following the medium. The medium has created something which has no depth, in which everybody's replaceable. So why treat anybody well if everybody's just a swipe away? Where in real life, if back in the day, and I don't want to say how old I am, but I'm 47, if you were me and you're out at a bar in Los Angeles in the 90s and you get a phone number, you write that down on a napkin and you bronze that thing because you don't know when you're getting another one, right? And now I got 20 women's phone numbers. And so it's created a paradox of choice. A wonderful book on decision making. It's created a paradox of choice where it becomes hard for everybody to not compare and contrast and say, I could do better, I could do better, I could do better. And to some point, having choice and freedom is great. At a certain point, it flips over and becomes a problem. And that's what we're witnessing.
Do you think that this pandemic actually will alleviate some of those issues? I mean, all I could think of with this happening and, like discussing with my friend that I had mentioned earlier about Zoom meetings, now we're all in lockdown. People are lonely. If they don't have a mate or somebody that they're kind of quarantined with, they're now a little bit maybe more open to online dating than they maybe were before. But all I could think of is maybe this is actually a good turning point in online dating, in a sense where people might be more willing to give another person a chance that they wouldn't have before. Because now, like, all the focus is suddenly being pulled into that conversation, and those conversations are going to matter. And also, sex is eliminated from the equation, right? Like, I mean, if people are really truly trying to be careful, nobody's just, trying to bang each other, and swipe and oh, okay, this doesn't work out, like all those ulterior motives are just kind of pushed to the side. I mean, do you think that this will have a turn for the better because of our pandemic?
Absolutely. I want to give you a lot of credit. You're very intuitive about single life for a woman who's not single. And you said a lot of the things that I've been saying and writing about where we are right now. Yeah, this is a correction. It's not one we would have wished for ourselves, but it's a correction that is forcing us to slow down, forcing us to have platonic conversations, putting the swipe right text hookup guys out of business, at least temporarily. Some of them are still trying, but they're not getting very far. So yes, coronavirus can be a good thing, and I'm seeing relationships being forged in this time. The issue with the relationships, again, the flip side of the good thing, of forcing people to slow down, is that people get into what are essentially long distance relationships that are kind of fantasies. So you could talk to someone for 3 hours a day like this and fall deeply in love. It doesn't mean when you get together in person that it's necessarily going to take off. Now, if it's what people need right now to get by, right, to plant the seeds of a relationship that may flourish when we're back to normal-ish, I encourage people to date. I just don't want people to get so caught up in the fantasy, because having a relationship like this isn't a full relationship. It's, you know, I largely discourage long distance dating for that reason, is because no relationship is real until you're actually together. And so everything's a long distance relationship right now, and it creates a different set of problems, but we don't have to curl up into a fetal position and until this whole thing's over. Many people are actively dating online with success and making real connections like this, taking distance walks and building trust to the point that they actually can meet in person, and they include that person in their little bubble. And I'm not, you know, coronavirus specialist to tell people what's appropriate, but there is plenty of love going on right now.
I kind of find this time, like, I mean, for all the negativity that, you know, this, I mean, there's a lot of negatives that were brought along with the pandemic, but I definitely believe there's a lot of beauty to it as well. Like, and that slowdown process is a huge part of that. But I think, you know, people are just becoming human again, you know, and with a dating, one of the things that I read that was interesting, you know, like kind of some red flags to look for, you know, like people are paying attention more to, people can't really lie as much as they used to. Like they could go on dates with people with these ulterior motives. Like maybe the guy's like, yeah, you know, I'm not really deep down. Like he's projecting that maybe he wants like a long-term serious relationship, or maybe he's just looking to get laid, you know. Or the girl, on the other hand, might just be looking to get some free drinks and a dinner for the night, you know. That's out of the equation now. Sex is out of the equation, you know, and now you got this human interaction, this face-to-face, you know, where these bonds are kind of, you know, they're either happening or they're not. But that false projection, you know, it's people are in their homes, you know, so they're actually more comfortable. So maybe, do you think this will bring on like more of a realness to the fact that a guy can't say like, hey, like I make all this money and I do all this stuff, but he lives in a shoebox apartment, you know, and that's apparent when he's, you know, face to face in a Zoom conference, or you know.
Yeah, that's also two slightly different questions, whether this is going to decrease the amount of lying, which I can't say for sure. Someone could still, man or woman, could shave a few years off their age without anybody necessarily noticing. So I don't know about that. But basically what I teach women is don't judge a man on how much you like him, and judge a man based on his efforts. And right now it's all about effort. Right? So a lot of guys are going to reach out and say hi, they're lonely, they're disconnected, they're feeling the same thing that you feel, and then they're going to pull up short. Most of them are just going to fade away. They're going to get caught up with someone else. They're going to get caught up with work. They're going to get caught up with their own depression. There's going to be all these reasons, very reasonable reasons, that people pull away. Only a few guys are left standing. So it's going to take a guy who is really earnest and sincere about a relationship to continue, as you said, to date platonically without the promise of hooking up at the end of the night. Right. So it is a natural way of weeding the wrong guys out. You don't have to think too much about it. If a guy's talking to you for 2 hours a day for, 6 weeks, he's clearly interested in you.
Right.
You don't have to really guess too much. And it's not a promise of a future, but it's a good sign for a future. Sure.
So today's theme is healthy boundaries. What healthy boundaries do you suggest couples consider in order to maintain a stronger, meaningful bond with their partner and even themselves?
I think it's important to know what makes you tick. There's always, and again, I'm speaking to someone, I'm presuming you're married the way you're talking?
Sorta.
Okay, sorry, I didn't need to make any assumptions. You're taking.
No.
Within the context of a relationship, All right, there's a baseline presumption. You're each trying to make the other person happy. All right.
Yeah.
You can't be with someone
Of
who
course.
you think he's trying to hurt me. That doesn't make any sense. So he's doing his best, you're doing your best. And despite you both doing your best, you're both going to fail. All right. That's the very nature of it. So this is a really good time to say, what's not working for me? And how could I address it in a constructive way? Right? And that's usually where things go awry, because people tend to lead with destructive criticism rather than constructive criticism. Constructive is, this would help you. Destructive is, this is what's wrong with you and will help me. So even if you take something as, scientifically unproven but interesting as like the 5 love languages, there's quality time, acts of service, touch, gifts, and words of affirmation. These are the ways that people like to give and receive love. Just understanding what your love language is could be really useful. Actually, more importantly, understanding your partner's love language, which is usually the way he gives, right? He likes to receive acts of service, right? He gives acts of service. That means I'm going to give him acts of service. The better partner you become, the better partner you get in return. All right, so this is an interesting time to sort of retrench. My wife and I, had a disagreement yesterday. And I've worked from home for 20 years. Quarantine's not that big a deal for me. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. So we have a lot of togetherness, and we're good with that. But we have different priorities. So how can you have a constructive conversation instead of, when you're trapped at home, feeling like a doormat and I'm putting up with so much stuff? Because that's what happens. I'm putting up with so much stuff. I mean, I love you, but I didn't want to spend this much time with you. So how can we do this in a more generous way and communicate instead of burying our feelings? Hey, honey, I had a terrible day a couple of weeks ago. Honey, I don't want to do anything tonight. She's like, you don't want to watch TV? You want to talk? I want to listen. I want to watch the Michael Jordan documentaries. That's what I want to do tonight. That was my need. That was my boundary. It was nothing personal.
Yeah.
Last night, she wanted to hang out with her girlfriends, have a 2-hour Zoom call, even though I had some stuff that I really wanted to do. And that's the way it is. You have to respect each other's boundaries. And then if there's a little friction, regroup, talk about what happened, and get back to how do we please each other? How do we please each other? Because that's our job.
Really interesting. Thank you so much for providing your insight. It's really, it's great. Thank you. I mean, for anybody that's interested in, so do you take clients all over the world? I mean, what are your clients like right now?
My clients are generally women 35 to 65, college educated, 6-figure earners who literally have everything but the guy. And I have clients right now in Australia, Singapore, India, Geneva, London, Spain, Portugal, and America, Canada, of course, as well. And the thing that everybody has in common is their lack of trust in their own judgment. All the decisions they've made in regards to men haven't paid off, and they want to learn to trust their judgment, operate from a place of confidence, abundance, and joy instead of fear, suspicion, failure. And that's what happens if you're 50 and you've never had a great relationship where you've ever felt taken care of. All right. So my North Star in my Love You course is relationships are easy. And if you're in a relationship that's not easy, it's not that good. Right. It's not worth preserving. So people stay in dead-end marriages for 20, 25 years and then come to me and say, oh my God, it's a lot harder to date when I'm 58 years old. Well, yeah, of course it is. Especially if your baseline is a 25-year-old marriage that never really made you happy, except for maybe 6 months at the beginning. Right. So it's really getting women to raise their standards in terms of how they feel in a relationship. And if you are single or recently out of a relationship, obviously be honored to work with you. My name is Evan Marc Katz. You go to evanmarckatz.com, click on the Love You button and fill out an application, and we'll talk.
Evan, thank you so much for your time. You guys check out, he's got an abundance of YouTube videos up there. His TED Talk is really, I mean, you're brilliant. I love listening to it. And, even as a single woman, not a non-single woman, I mean, I think there's a lot of value in listening to your words, just to carry with you into your relationship and to reevaluate ourselves a little bit, and some of our reactions in our relationships and how we could, be better partners. So there's definitely a lot of value for those that are not single and that are taken. So thank you so much for your time and for being a part of our show today. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. This was a delightful surprise. I had no idea this was coming, and it was great to be here with you.
Yeah, me either. I had no idea this was coming. I was like, threw it out into the universe, and I was like, maybe he'll do it, maybe not. And then when you wrote me back, I was like, wow, that was awesome. So
I got nowhere else to be, so it's my pleasure.
Thanks, Evan. Hey, Porcelain Train, you guys want to rock out one more song for us?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure thing. That was excellent.
Yeah, that was very, very interesting.
Yeah, this is a song off our album, too. It's called Never Gives Up.
So hard today. Catching up with me. Faith be my company. The fire burns, it never goes away. It's always here to stay. Never gives up. Never gives up.
Big thank you to Porcelain Train, hailing from Buffalo, New York, to Evan Marc Katz for sharing your insight with us from Los Angeles. both have Facebook pages. Make sure you go and give them a like and check out their videos and media on YouTube as well. Today's theme was healthy boundaries. I'm going to leave you off with some closing words for you to ponder over the weekend. Boundaries are your own invisible force field, and you are in charge of protecting it. As important as we may recognize this to be, most of us still have a difficult time setting healthy boundaries consistently. At times, it's difficult to identify when our boundaries are being crossed. We may even fear the consequences to our relationships if we set them. To identify when your boundaries are being crossed, stay tuned into your feelings. Red flags include discomfort, resentment, stress, anxiety, guilt, and fear. These feelings stem from feeling taken advantage of or not feeling appreciated. Healthy relationships are a balance of give and take. In a healthy relationship, you feel calm, you feel safe, you feel supported, you feel respected, taken care of, and unconditionally accepted. Make a commitment to yourself to put your own identity, needs, feelings, and goals first. Healthy emotional boundaries come from believing that you are okay just the way you are. Commit to letting go of fixing others, taking responsibility for the outcomes of others' choices, saving or rescuing others, needing to be needed, changing yourself to be liked, or depending on others' approvals. Good boundaries are a sign of good emotional health, of self-respect, and of strength. We teach people how to treat us. Always remember that. So important. Set high standards for those that you surround yourself with, and expect to be treated in the same loving way that you treat them. By doing so, you will soon find yourself surrounded by those who respect you, who care about your needs and your feelings, and treat you with the kindness you deserve. Thank you so much again to today's guests. Shout out to Matt Rammerman of the Green Room Recording Studios here in Rochester, New York. Also, shout out to Gary Curtis for your Patreon support. And to all of our past Patreon supporters, thank you very much. If you'd like to support our program and are really enjoying our shows, make sure you go to patreon.com/afternoon cocktail talk show. And we'd love to help you out too. We have some advertising opportunities and some fun gifts to give away as well. I wish you all a beautiful weekend and a happy Memorial Day. We'll be back here Memorial Day this Monday with a brand new show. Make sure you tune in at 1 o'clock. You guys take good care of yourselves and be well.